I turned back to the wall to avoid the sight of my mother's hatred, and let out an agonized moan. I didn't want to kill her. I didn't want to, but she was going to murder me. And I still didn't understand. I slammed my fist against the wall and broke it down further. I could see more words. Darius, and Kylie, and Dad. I started to tear at the wood with all of my might, ripping it bit by bit. As I did so, more and more became visible, and finally, after the last piece was moved out of the way, the message I had written to myself so long ago was finally visible. I let out a cry of pain, realizing why Kylie was so afraid to go back, and why Darius left it up to me, and why my dad advised against it. I slammed on the wall with my fists, crying and screaming, "No! No, I want to go back! Let me go back! Please, God, let me go back!" I punched the wall until my fists were bloody and leaving red marks on the white writing. I shut my eyes, I focused as hard as I could to go back, and for the briefest of moments I heard their voices in the blackness of my closed eyes. Please just let me go back. My words choked in my throat. I reopened them and stared at the writing on the wall and read it out loud. Aaron, if you read this, I wrote this for you as your mind began to unravel. I wrote this so you could remember. There was a car crash. You were driving. Darius, Kylie, and Dad were with you. Dad and Kylie died instantly. I left it all to you, son. And now, you'll have all you could ever want except one thing. You knew it wasn't your fault. Someone had ran a red light forcing you to swerve and roll off the road. But your guilt over being the driver was too much for you to handle. Darius died after you pulled him from the wreckage. He told you what you refused to admit. It wasn't your fault, Aaron. You wouldn't admit that, but you know, you're not trapped here anymore. You're free. Mom did her best to make you feel guilty. She hated you and Kylie because it was in your dad's will that you get everything. But you know it wasn't your fault. She didn't love you, but Darius, Dad, and Kylie did. You won't be able to play with me all the time, big brother. But I still love you. If you're reading this, you're free of whatever fantasy world you made up to escape the guilt that was never there. Love, Aaron. I stared at the wall for a long time, and wiped the tears from my face, and turned to look at the door and slowly walked towards it. As I did so, I paid no attention to the greedy woman's corpse that had once been my mother on the ground. I walked away from the prison I had been put into and left behind the prison that I put myself into. It's been 10 years since then. After much investigation, my mother's intentions were clear, and I was found capable of not only life on my own, but to receive the inheritance owed to me from my father's will. And I'll live in a nice home, afforded to me by the money my mother could never fully touch as long as I still lived. I've grown to know comfort of other people and even love again outside of those cold white walls and away from the place that I had created in my own mind where my father, Kylie, and Darius dwelt, though I'll always love them. I've learned to move on. I don't quite know what the significance had been of the blackness from my collapse and the white from my resurgence, but I can guess. I presume the blackness was my mind's depression and self-hatred, obliterating everything that reminded me of my guilt and removing everything except the things that I thought were important, which was seeing those three again. The white, I think, was my mind's response to the electrical storms being created by my mother's attempt to murder me. I was trying to bring back myself to that room so that I could wake up again. That's why Kylie didn't want me to go back. I knew that it would destroy this world. That's why my dad didn't want me to go back. I knew I would have to face this terrible place again. And that's why Darius let me decide on my own. I knew underneath it all, I had to face the fact that I was not to blame, and that I couldn't live in a fantasy world, even if it meant giving that life all up. I missed them all terribly. But I moved on, finally. And while I don't have them in my waking hours, I still wander with them. and dreams. Son, I love you, but here's what I would do with my money. Aaron, tell me about the new guy. I'm happy you're finally dating again, but I want to approve of him. Not now. I've got something more important to do. Big brother, did you come to play? Always.